Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's Tuesday review video, we're going to be talking about a brand that I've actually never talked about or tried before. So this is the Dominique Cosmetics Transition Palette. Dominique Cosmetics, started by Christen Dominique, who is an influencer. I sort of learned about her back when she was like an Ipsy ambassador. She's very chill and she's very beautiful. I was never a big fan of her channel, but for no particular reason. Like, she seems great, she's beautiful, she stays out of drama, she seems great. And then she started her own brand. She was kind of one of the first influencers to do it, and her brand is now also sold at Sephora. Unfortunately, this palette isn't at Sephora yet, but a lot of her other stuff is. She's had a lot of palettes that I thought were pretty, but this palette in particular, I just thought I had to try because it seemed like the kind of palette that I would reach for every day, and so far I have, spoiler alert, because it's just the most beautiful array of matte eyeshadows. Like, this is the sort of thing that if I was ever traveling, like, just based on visual, I could see myself taking, because I'm typically more of a matte eyeshadow girl. Today I am wearing a little bit of a glitter shade on my lids, which is obviously not from this palette, but the rest of my eyeshadow is, and I just thought it looked beautiful. And I've heard a lot of other influencers say that the Dominique Cosmetics matte eyeshadow formula is one of their favorite matte formulas, so I decided to take the plunge with this eyeshadow palette. It was a little expensive because it was from Dominique Cosmetics, which is in the States, so then I had to pay for shipping, and then I ended up having to pay for FedEx duties as well, so this was my birthday present to myself this year because it ended up being quite expensive. So if we take a quick look at it on the Dominique Cosmetics website, like I said, this is the Transition palette. It retails for $48. That is American, so that is converted to Canadian, plus tax, plus shipping, plus duties. I basically paid about $100 for this palette. I don't want to talk about it. Life is complicated. Makeup shouldn't be. To keep things simple, we created your new everyday go-to, a versatile multi-use palette with a range of warm to cool neutral matte shades. Define, contour, brighten, highlight, play up your eyes, enhance your brows, choose daytime no makeup looks, or go for full-on sultry smoky glam. There's not much our Transition palette's blendable Longwear pigments can't do. We even made the pan sizes large enough to fit a complexion brush, so you can create endless looks more easily than ever. And then below that, there is a breakdown of each shade by name and sort of what they look like. But I'm not going to bother reading those to you because we are going to do swatches. I had a poll on my community page on if swatches actually help you in an eyeshadow palette review. I posted that poll there because I'm lazy and I didn't want to do swatches. But you guys said that you like swatches, so I decided to do them for the past couple of eyeshadow palette reviews, and I am going to do these as well. So cue swatches. And we're back. So here's what I'm going to say about this eyeshadow palette. It's definitely very good, and I'm glad I bought it. I like the cardboard packaging. It makes it a little more durable. Magnetic closure, nice big mirror. Aesthetically, the palette is beautiful. I love how it's laid out. I love the big pans, not even for complexion use, but I just love big pans. I love how the colors are named because nothing is unnecessarily explicit. You know, my little prude heart hates that. All of these have sort of like normal, a lot of them are sort of food names. I've done a couple of eyeshadow looks with this just within the that first week of me having it, so I will insert the images and the video that I took of that for you. I did sort of like a pinky look, and then I did sort of like a yellowy, browny look, and then I did sort of like a smoky, more typical gray eyeshadow look as well. What I'm going to say is overall I do like this eyeshadow palette, but there are a couple of things I don't love. I think there are a couple of shades in here that don't need to be in here because they're too similar to other shades. So, cinnamon and coffee bean. Cinnamon is definitely a little bit pinkier, but I really don't know that that makes a huge difference on the eyes. I think they look very similar. And then when you throw in this mocha shade down here, this shade, and this shade are all very similar. I don't know that all three of them were necessary. I think they come off very similar. Same with blushing and caramel. I think they look very similar, and I think they come off very similar on the eyes. Sure, maybe blushing's a little bit pinkier, but on the eyes, I think it, like, once you have it blended out, I think it looks pretty much the same. Really, if you wanted caramel to be a little bit pinkier, you could just throw in this, soft and sweet shade, and it would pinken it up. You know what I mean? My other qualm is the smoky shade down at the bottom is not black. I wish it was a pure, dark, rich black shade. Maybe that's just because I'm a goth. But, like, these shades together, even when I use them, I can't get as dark smoky as I want to because it's not so black. So I wish there was a black shade, and I wish there was maybe a lighter gray. Because we have this frothy shade, which is like a cream, and then this natural shade, which is like a light beige. I wish there was like a light gray. You know what I mean? Just to complete this sort of bottomy row here. And actually, now that I look at it, toffee and caramel are very similar as well up here. So it's a beautiful palette. It performs really well. One of the things that I like the most about this palette is that it's so easy to blend. You don't even have to think about it. Like, you just put it on your eyes, you just grab a fluffy brush, you just go. So this would be a very great palette for anybody who has a hard time blending eyeshadows out. It would be fantastic. I hope it comes to Sephora, because that makes it a little more accessible, both like actually to get it, but also accessible financially, because then you don't have to pay all the ridiculous costs that I paid to get it in Canada from the States. But it's definitely not, I don't know, like looking at it in person looks different than looking at it online. Online, some of these shades look similar, but they look even more similar in person. So that would be my only qualm with this eyeshadow palette, is I think they could have either refined some of the shades to make them a little more individual, or just taken some shades out and made the palette a little bit smaller, you know what I mean? But that being said, overall, I do like it. I love the quality, I love the pan size, I love the names, I love the packaging. I just think there's maybe too many similar colors. It doesn't end up, like, that they might look a little bit different in the pan, and you might be like, oh, it's a little bit pink, it's a little bit abby. But when you use them on your eyes, realistically, they look similar enough that I don't think it warrants, you know, some of these shades being in here multiple times, pretty much. But I do like it. I give Christen her props for starting a great brand, being one of the first influencers to do it. I remember when she launched Dominique Cosmetics, I remember sort of being, I don't know, like, I look back and I'm kind of like, oh, Abby, what's wrong with you? But sort of being like, I wonder if her brand's going to do well, because I didn't think she was a big enough influencer to have her own brand, you know? She's not like Nikki Tutorials. She's not like the way Jaclyn Hill was back in 2016. She's a little bit more low-key, and I think a lot of that is because she kind of stays out of the messiness that some of the rest of them get into. But it also kind of builds some respect on her name, so maybe that's why people do buy her makeup, is because they know that she's pretty problem-free. I would be interested to try other products of hers in the future, especially other eyeshadow palettes. She also has lip products, so I would definitely consider trying her other stuff, but I would get it from Sephora and not from her website, because that was astronomically priced. But it is a beautiful palette, and if I was a traveling type, like, pandemic aside, if I was the traveling type, this would probably be the only palette I took with me. Like, if I could go back in time and go back to New Zealand, what palettes did I even take with me when I went there? I think I took Bon Bons by Too Faced. I don't even remember. But this would be the kind of palette that I would take because it's so versatile, and I do prefer matte eyeshadow palettes, and it's easy to use. You wouldn't need a ton of brushes, and it could also double as a face palette, right? Like it says in the description, because the pans are so big, you know, you could easily pull a blush, a bronzer. There's not really a contour shade for someone as pale as me. They're all a little bit too warm for that. You know, you can make it work. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the Dominique Cosmetics Transition palette. I think it is beautiful. I think it's a fantastic palette. I think being a Canadian and ordering it from the website, which is American, was a little excessive of me. I think past me maybe spent a little too much money on this palette. If it was available at Sephora, and I could just go there and buy it or order from the Sephora website in Canada, that would make it much more worth the price. It would be much easier to get. But if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of eyeshadows and you just want like an all-in-one, easy-to-use, versatile palette, this could actually be a really great palette for you, regardless of where you are, if you're willing to spend the money to buy it. Because, like I said, it was expensive to ship it to Canada. I don't know where you are. Maybe it's just as expensive, if not more, to get it to you. But it is a really great sort of all-in-one palette. I am someone who has an excessive amount of eyeshadow, so someone might look at this and be like, Abby, you did not need that palette, but I did need this palette because it's pretty. And it's just, no matter what kind of eye look I want to do, whether it's bright or it's neutral, whatever, there's something I can use out of here, and I just love an eyeshadow palette like that that's like reliable, that I can use, that won't take a lot of thought, that'll blend, that'll look pretty, that'll look professional, put together, and nice, but also keep me looking like a makeup-y kind of girl. Overall, I really do like it. I just wish I could have bought it at Sephora instead of paying, like, whatever I paid, like, an extra $20 for shipping, and then $20 on top of that in duties. Like, whoa. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this week's Tuesday review video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed already, and I will see you next time. Bye!